The meeting, Noreen, would you please do attendance?
Bonnie France,
Here?
Jeff Manson,
Here.
Pat Shea,
Here.
Dylan Penn is out, Lou Revere,
Here.
Robert Garstack.
Here.
Lou will be covering for Dylan tonight.
Thank you. With that, I'll point out the fire exits. There are two in front of me to the rear of the audience, another to my left, which is the main entrance into Town Hall, and then another out by the patio. With that, could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item on the agenda is Golden Delight. Good evening.
Thank you, George.
You want to just introduce yourself and a quick overview?
Yep. Good evening, John Queen with Lankentelli Engineering, engineer for the applicant. Back before you with Golden Delight Baking Site Plan, located on Larkin Drive, the existing building, approximately like 12,000 square feet in size. Been before you for a little while now for an amended site plan. The changes that were done to the building without a prior approval, approximately 2,000 square feet from the original approval, and then the new uses that have been in the building are currently listed on the plan. And then we've done, through the reviews, updates to the site plan regarding parking and circulation to the existing site. And I think we're at the end, hopefully, tonight to go over the approval resolution.
Thank you for that. Sean, I'll ask you to see here if you have any comments.
Yeah, so the applicant substantially addressed our technical comments with regards to the plans. Just with one exception, the net lot area just has to be ironed out, but that's an easy one.
Yeah.
From a procedural perspective, the applicant's proposing to tie to sewer. That's going to need two permits, one through the town's highway superintendent and for the Larkin Drive and the Old Country Road disturbances, as well as Orange County Sewer District Number 1 has to sign off on the plans. There is an easement that's needed in order to install that sewer lateral across a private property, so that'll have to be reviewed by Ashley prior to final signature of the plans. We did receive final sign-off from Karen Arendt, and then the applicant did submit some architectural, I guess we'll call them cut sheets, to identify the soffit type and color, as well as the siding type and color. I just ask that some type of plan be provided so the board knows where those are going to be installed.
Correct. These architecturals, or the cut sheet for them, are just the areas of the building, I'll note it on the plan, like the bump outs that are hatched on the building, so that this would closely match what the building is, because those are all like unfinished areas.
Okay.
So we'll just note that on the plan, but it's not the whole building.
Okay. So I'm going to interrupt for a moment. George, if you can hear me, the TVs are not coming up with my computer. I'm definitely plugged in, wiggled it around. So just so you know, we're going to continue, but thanks. Okay. All right. Ashley, any comments?
I did prepare a draft resolution for the board. I had a couple comments we could just go over as we review that.
So before we go over it, I'm just going to ask the board members if they have any final comments or questions. So I'll start to my left. Bob, anything? Jeff?
No.
Pat, no?
No comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let me bring this up. Okay. And I believe this is the one that has Sean's comments embedded. Yeah. So do you want me to go through it and then you'll interject? Okay. So this is a resolution of approval for Golden Delight Baking Inc., actually an amended site plan. So they applied for approval of amended site plan. We already described the square footage of the building. The uses that are occurring within that particular building are listed.
One question there, there's a furniture office that the narrative describes it as a distributor, so the question was whether that should be noted as furniture office / warehouse or furniture office with accessory storage, or is there actual furniture being stored there and distributed from?
Yes, but, yeah, I would say yes. It's not big enough, really, but there are pieces there. So,
Is it accessory to another use, or is it the use?
The furniture office for a furniture distributor?
yeah.
Total square footage of this space we're talking about is 1,150 square feet, so it's,
It's primarily the office.
Okay.
I can't say that there wouldn't be something stored there.
So do we want to call it accessory?
Furniture office with accessory storage?
That's allowed in that zone? Does it say accessory?
Office is allowed, and that would be just accessory to,
Can we do it similar to the use on the, there's a use on the table already, it says handyman office / warehouse?
So the way it is now?
furniture office / warehouse, that's what I had thought originally?
I think that'd be the
Because
easiest.
it
That's
doesn't
okay?
change the parking, the parking's most restrictive for office, so, okay.
We're okay? Okay. All right, property had a 1974 site plan approval for the warehouse and office building, and the present application seeks approval of 2,000 square feet that had been added on without an approval, along with the proposed change of use. The properties at 31 Larkin Drive, and shown on the tax maps is 2-1-513, 5.13, and this is in the light industry zoning district in the town of Monroe. The resolution recites the plans and submissions upon which decision is based. Application was submitted October 16, 2020. It was like COVID times. There we go. Thank you, George. We did hold a public hearing, which was closed on the same date. This is a type 2 action as the addition involved less than 4,000 square feet of gross floor area. The application was referred to the Orange County Planning Department, and that it's a matter for local determination. It was also submitted to the Village of Curious Joel and the Town of Palm Tree. Do we ever get any? Nothing? Okay, no comments. So findings, we have determined that approval of the amended site plan will substantially serve the public convenience, safety, and welfare. Will have a harmonious relationship with existing or permitted development, will not be detrimental to the neighborhood or the residents thereof, or detrimental to the public convenience or welfare, subject to the conditions that are imposed in this resolution. So you have this one highlighted.
Yes, just to point that out, that your approval includes, you're making your findings in terms of architectural review. I think this is the first time you saw those colors, those materials that they're going to be putting on to match the existing. And then also, since there's no trees being removed with this application, it includes a waiver of the tree plan requirement.
Okay, thank you. Public improvements, none are identified. So we'll get to the specific conditions. It's subject to final engineering review of the plan set, and the plans won't be signed until receipt of a letter from the Planning Board of Engineering that essentially certifies it's ready to be signed. And then prior to the signing of the plans, comply with all outstanding comments from the landscape architects. We'll file in the Orange County Clerk's Office an easement for the proposed sanitary sewer force main to be drafted to the satisfaction of Planning Board Attorney and Planning Board Engineer, and then a copy provided to the Building Department. So 4 is deleted.
Yes, so they did already remove that fence that was on their application, fence on a neighboring property that the site plan said would be removed. They've already removed that, so it's no longer shown on the plan.
Okay. And then prior to signing of plans, revised as follows, update the building summary table, delineate the setback boundaries, dimensions of truck spaces, and then approval is conditioned upon the Village of Curious Joel supplying water for the property, and that you have to enter into an agreement in a form acceptable to the town attorney. Do you look at a draft of that also, or no?
Usually I will, but the town attorney will sign off on it. There's a form now that's been developed that I think is pretty standard now for water and when the village is involved with the town.
Okay.
So it's been,
It's kind of addressed.
it's kind of a template at this point.
Okay. Prior to the signing of the plans, shall provide the building department with written approval from Orange County DPW for the sewer lateral connection.
If I could, just on that point.
Sure.
Would the board consider either a building permit or CO for that item? Just because the sewer district could be quite some time, and the property already has adequate septic that is handling the use currently?
Well, so I was going to say, I mean, this is kind of going backwards because they're memorializing or getting approval for uses and an addition that was added already without approval, so the uses are there, right? So,
It would still need a building permit that addition.
so they need the building right for the
Correct.
addition, because that was the whole point of them coming in.
Right.
Correct.
But you have no approval for the sewer lateral connection, which already exists? Is that
No, we have the site has an on-site septic system. So
Okay.
As part of this, the building owner was like, oh, I'd like to
you're gonna-
get rid of my septic and connect to the
Right.
collection system. Application's been made to the Orange County Sewer District Number 1, but time frame, I mean, it could be a year.
So I think my reaction is that all this activity was happening without approvals. And so if we say, all right, we'll still sign the site plan, what is going to drive the owner to actually,
You won't get a building permit. That's the reason why we're here, is because the building department
Right.
sent them here. So then, essentially, he'd be finished with this board, he'd have a signed site plan, and now he's got to get his building permits and work through the building department. If he never does that, then he's continually in violation.
so I was going to say, so if they don't then follow up, are they already in violation? And would they
That's
be?
my understanding.
Yes.
That's why they're here, yes.
Yeah.
So they would continue to be violated if they don't pursue it? I just want to understand that, what's going to keep the applicant,
Well, two
I
things.
appreciate it, but on the hook.
Yeah, well, two things. One, the site plan has that on there, so it would have to be enforced at some point if nothing was moving. And two, he's under violation from the building department to get a site plan to move forward. So I think you got both on the hook. It's on the plan to connect to it, as well as getting a building permit to remedy the violation.
Do any of the planning board members have comments or thoughts on this?
Is this in any way adding personnel to this?
No.
So before you do the hookup, you're just going to be using,
Continue to use the existing system that's there.
Any thoughts?
So he can't move forward unless he gets the building permit, right?
Right now, he can't move forward until he gets the site plan signed, and then he would apply for building permits. And then he won't be able to get the building permits unless he's got the signed site plan, so it's like a catch.
But to move forward, the reality is they're operating already. So it's
Correct.
just to stop getting violations, essentially, because the building's occupied. They already did everything without the permits. So
Well,
this
the
just
2,000
legitimizes
square
it.
feet. They had original approval, but the addition of the 2,000 square
Right.
feet, yeah,
Right.
correct.
So what can be done?
Yeah, that's,
This was to change the timing of the Orange County W
Correct.
prior to signing of the plan, prior to the issuance.
is everybody okay with that? Yes?
It just takes us off your clock, just in case.
Okay.
his Sewer
You're okay with
permits
it?
are.
Yeah, I'm good. I would not recommend CO.
Okay.
I would recommend building.
Yeah, I would definitely not say C of O,
Right.
but I think if you're okay with that, then,
Why not a CFO?
because building permit will be sooner. They'd have to comply sooner and get whatever approval sooner than a C of O.
I asked for CO, but you can ask.
No, I know, that's what I mean.
But no,
my
it's just,
point.
otherwise, we're under your time frame, that 2-year time frame to get it signed. And to be quite honest with you, the sewer lateral permits right now are very difficult
To get,
to get because of everything with the plant and flows, so.
is it possible that you won't get a lateral, or that there could be a moratorium if capacity?
It's possible, but his fallback is he has an on-site septic that's properly working.
How are we guaranteed that this is not going to happen again? You're not going to come back, a few years down the road and put another 2,000 square feet?
For an expansion?
Yeah.
I
How do we know it's not going to happen
can't guarantee
again?
anything, but no, I mean.
Because when we drive on
he-
Larkin Drive
he
and we
could
see
come in.
construction going on, we're gonna let Ben know.
No, he could come in with an expansion, just like anyone else, another amendment, and actually do it the correct way instead of reversed, but no, there's nothing I can tell you that guarantees either way.
So I guess at this point, we can change it to building permit for that particular
Thank you.
item. Prior to the issuance of building permit, applicant shall obtain a road opening permit. Then prior to a C of O, existing on-site sewage disposal system shall be decommissioned. And then letter signed and sealed, professional engineer submit to building department certifying that's been decommissioned. And then, do you want to go over the yellow highlighted? No modification?
Reflecting the architectural modifications are proposed or approved as part of this application, except for the installation of building soffit and siding to the unfinished sections of the building, which shall be consistent with the colors submitted January 30th, 2025, and match the remainder of the.
Yeah, it keeps coming on.
And the lighting fixtures as shown on the lighting plan, sheet number 5. All existing and proposed site lighting shall utilize energy-efficient LED bulbs and shall have a maximum color temperature of 2,700 Kelvin.
Are we full cutoff on the lights? Because I'm not sure if this is one of those that have the light shining out.
All the ones that were proposed were downward facing.
They're all facing down.
All right, but I'd like this to reflect that all existing and proposed will be downward facing, if that's possible. Because sometimes these get added that were never on the site plan. There's some businesses and some uses along Larkin where it's horrible, the lighting, where they're directed out, they're not directed down,
Yeah, most of it's building mounted, so I'm sure we can make sure that it's,
all directed
it's shielded.
downward or it's shielded.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. So if we could make that change. All landscaping maintain a healthy and vibrant condition. Substitutions are subject to planning board approval. No on-site retail space or retail sales are allowed. No disturbances approved beyond the existing building and pavement footprint unless it's shown on the plans. No tree removal is proposed on any future. So it's not proposed. Are we opening the door to saying it'll comply with restrictions?
I think there's a note on the map.
So if there's no tree removal proposed, right? So, but then it's like any future tree removal would comply with these restrictions, but I almost don't want to put that because they're not supposed to remove trees. You know what I'm saying? So I would suggest we take that out.
Or sentence.
Yeah, keep the first sentence, but any future tree removal. I don't know that we need that because they're not supposed to cut trees. I know that's sort of like adding a little bit of security in the event they contemplate it, but then they're not in compliance with the site plan.
Under the
That could be, but this particular resolution you drafted up says proposed or approved. Yeah, so I would suggest taking it out. Do planning board members feel strongly either way? No? Okay. We evaluate that,
For the lighting, just going back, so I'll add, all existing and proposed site lighting shall be downward directed and utilize energy-efficient LED bulbs. Is that good?
Planning board has evaluated this application based on the size of the structure. No building permit for a structure larger than what's shown on the plans will be issued. Allows construction of only what is shown on the plans. No other outdoor amenities, et cetera, are approved without approval.
Added language in, got that notwithstanding sentence, that was a carryover from a prior resolution, so that's
Okay, so
not-
this one's coming out. And then no encroachments or neighboring properties are being authorized or approved by the resolution. And that's been taken care of, you had mentioned. And then we have our standard general conditions about necessary copies to be provided and signed, all other approvals from all other agencies, delivering and making sure that all fees are paid, completed entity disclosure statement, binding on the applicant, any subsequent owner, no changes to the site plan, or the site plan will be void. Site plan effective for a period of 2 years. It'll expire automatically. And then fail to comply with any such condition in a timely. So, a failed to comply with any such condition, you mean the conditions of the approval? All the conditions? Just Ashley, a failed to comply with any such condition in a timely manner, is that all the conditions? Or the specific conditions, or both the specific and general? Okay. All right, any edits, any comments from the board? Anything? No? All right. So with that, would someone like to make a motion that we approve the resolution for amended site plan for Golden Delight Baking, Inc. as amended this evening? Bob?
So moved.
Thank you. And may I have a second?
Second.
Noreen? Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bob Garstack,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Lou Rivera.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Oops. Please do that. Next out of my agenda. All right. Next item on the agenda is 290 Mountain View Drive subdivision.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Morgante for the applicant. How are we doing tonight?
Good.
So, since we were here last, we tried to make some revisions to the plans. In particular, we focused on upgrading the EAF and trying to make the plans match somewhat the best we could in the limited amount of time we had before submittal. I reviewed Sean's comment letter before I came up here. We take no exception to the comments. I note that it seems as though I might have forgotten to update the limits of disturbance on the EAF to match the plans. We can certainly do that. And I think we were looking to take action at the last meeting to circulate for notice of intent for lead agency. I think if I make the change to the EAF that Sean suggests, unless Ashley's got any other additional comments, the plans may be suitable at least for circulation at this point for notice of intent for lead agency. Other than that, we've reviewed the comments and we'll continue to make the revisions and resubmit to the town. We will entertain any questions or comments the board has and the consultants as well.
At your last meeting, you had classified the action and declared your intent subject to the revised EAF. The only other change I think I would have on the EAF was in question 2 to identify the other involved agencies. So I know it'll, based on Sean's comments, looks like it's going to need a variance, or at least one variance from the ZBA, so they'd be added on there. And then the other involved agencies.
I would just note one thing. The mapping I've provided is from online GIS resources. We still have to actually physically get the wetland delineated. We'll probably upload to the DEC website, as Sean suggested, just to make sure about whatever the determination is. That's not an issue. I just wanted to put that in the plans at this point, just to kind of get a feel. So I can certainly, I think it might make more sense to write potential variance as opposed to a variance, because I don't know for sure yet, based on what the actual wetland delineation will be, whether or not it's actually required.
Yeah, I think we would just, as an involved agency, that way you could move forward. And then, would DEC and Army Corps potentially be involved rather than interested?
Involved, I think they would be interested, not involved. There's no disturbances to the buffer or the wetlands.
Okay, so neither of them would be
Involved, correct.
So, in terms of seeker, since we already declared intent, we don't have to do anything this evening. It's just the NOI will be updated and then circulated? Okay. So with that, Sean, would you like to highlight any of the comments?
So as Mike alluded to, the Lot 2 on the plans in the bulk table identifies slightly below, I think it's like 19,000 and change, whereas 20,000 square feet is required for the two-family. So I had noted that that would need a variance, assuming that is the correct net lot area calculation. As Mike noted, the wetlands delineation has not been accepted by DEC, so the net lot area calculation could be plus or minus until they've validated that wetland boundary.
So just quick, so when whoever goes out to delineate the wetland, if they could make sure they put the markers in so we could take a look. We may have our wetland specialists go out to take a look at it, or the, Conservation Commission may go out to take a look at it.
Not a problem.
So another comment with regards to the proposed two-family, there are egress, I'll call them porches, for lack of a better term, on either side that encroach into the side yard setback. The code does allow for up to 4 feet to encroach, but it appears that those are about 8 feet on either side, so those will have to be pulled in unless the applicant would also like to request a variance for those.
Once they're working on the architectural floor plans and elevations, my understanding is they're going to probably pull it back. So hopefully we'll make that revision for the next submittal.
So the applicant is also proposing widening to Mountain View Drive as part of the application, and proposing curb along curb and sidewalk along the front of the both dwellings or both lots, except that no drainage the drainage is not proposed to be moved, whereas I strongly recommend that those be moved. I am meeting with Patterson next week to review not only this application, and we'll be discussing that drainage as well as the widening. I did forward the plans to Karen Arendt for review and comment. I don't believe we've gotten anything back from her yet.
Do we show tree removal?
We're in the process of a tree survey as well.
Okay.
So we have some of the property done, I think, in the rear. I was able to reflect that on the plans. But I think we have to get some more info in the front of the Lot 2 area. I noticed that was missing from the information that was provided to me, so we'll continue to improve that and get that information for the board.
Okay.
So we will need Orange County Department of Public Works sign off for the proposed sewer laterals for both of the each unit of the two-family. Highlights.
Thank you. Was there anything else, Ashley, about the plan itself?
I had about the driveway width, just to label the width in the widest part of the driveway in the front yard. I think it was labeled at the entrance, but
So at the setback line, to identify
Yeah,
the
whatever the widest
dimension?
part of the driveway is, because there is a limit on there.
Okay. Was that it? Okay. I'll start to my right. Lou, any comments, questions you have? Thank you. Pat?
I have no question.
Jeff? Bob?
I have nothing tonight.
All right. So at this point, the applicant's engineer will make revisions to the plans. We have Karen, aren't looking at it. When the delineation is put into place, we'll go forward and take a look at it, see if it's reasonable based on our own consultant's input, and we'll move forward with circulating the notice of intent. With, and you needed one little revision on the EAF, or that was done? Was there one revision that had to be made?
I had one, and I think Ashley had one, yeah.
Okay, so you'll have to get that to them.
Yeah, so, yeah, it was to match the limits of disturbance on the EAF to the plan. Potential involved agency is a ZBA. And interested agencies is a DEC and
You
ACOA.
don't have to label on your form, I just wanted to make sure that there was no other involved. The only involved I have is Town Board, ZBA, Highway Department, and Orange County Environmental Facilities and Services.
Thank you. Remind me, have you been out to the site? Do you have comments on 290? Yes, so. Very good. Yes, you could do those together. Thank you.
Just one question for Ashley. The Orange County Transfer Station, was that mentioned? Do I have those already on the EAF, or are they not on the EAF? Did you just,
Environmental facility.
that's what I'm sorry, environmental facilities, yes.
You have Orange County Sewer District 1, which is,
Same
That's
idea.
fine.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Okay?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Not do that again. All right. Next item on the agenda is Target Tesla charging station. And then I believe we have others that may be joining us via Zoom on this one. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Lena Strauss, and I'm here from Dewberry Engineers, Inc. We're representing the applicant, which is Tesla, Inc. Also on the line...
I'm sorry, Bonnie, do you want to unmute yourself? That way
Oh, sure.
they know that you're, and just let them know they're on.
Got it.
Thank you. Also on the line is Justin Boston, who is an engineer also from Dewberry Engineers, Inc., and he's here to answer any technical questions the board has about our proposal.
Very good. All right, so let's start with Sean. Sean, do you have any comments?
I do. So last time we had discussed the number of parking stalls and the parking study that Langen had prepared for the end space for 4B some time ago. That at that time had identified, forgive me, I don't have it written down, the total number of spots that the board agreed were available within the Target and Harriman Business Park complex as kind of an overflow. So the applicant is looking to reduce the number of spots by 3. However, Target is also here for a different application, also reducing parking. So I think the board should take a holistic approach of reviewing the total number of spots to be reduced. In my opinion, both applications will reduce it by the threshold that the board already, or within the threshold that the board already set was an acceptable amount. Forgive me, I think it's about 79 spaces that are available.
Does that take into consideration also, because this is kind of cumulative, when we did the storage also?
Does,
It does,
right,
okay,
yep.
thank you.
I think the numbers might be noted off. I think it should reflect that 71 of the excess spaces were taken for the food hall, 15 for the storage containers, so the current excess was 79. Now that's proposed to be reduced by this application to 76, and then Target is also proposing a reduction as well.
Thank you.
That's really it from a technical perspective. We did refer the board, at the last meeting, the board had asked about screening the electrical equipment because it's right as you drive into Target.
Right.
Unfortunately, we don't have anything back from Karen on that yet, but I know she is reviewing that.
Thank you. Ashley?
A couple. The entity disclosure form, Section B, needs to be completed, and it needs to be signed. And then you require a tree plan. I know you are removing a few trees and then are going to be replanting those, but if those trees are above the 6-inch at DBH caliper, then they need to be identified as to their type and the replacement trees as well, which I understand is being reviewed by Karen.
Is that it?
Specified it as type 2 at your last meeting. It will require referral to the county. It doesn't quite fit within any of those exceptions.
Okay. Planning board, I will start to my left. Bob, any questions?
None.
Jeff?
No.
Do we have something that shows, is this the existing tree? Those existing conditions?
I'm sorry, I can't see the plans from here.
Oh, okay, sorry. I think it does.
If you scroll down on the border, on the...
Existing conditions
Yes.
plan. And so we don't have the quantity yet of how many trees are being removed and how many are being added?
That meet the level, 6-inch caliper.
Right.
We don't know what,
Okay, so that's outstanding.
We could look at the tree plan requirements in the code and just include all of that necessary information if any of those trees being removed are within that threshold.
How many of these are we putting in?
We are putting in 16. There are 16 stalls total connected to 4 pre-assembled supercharger units.
Okay. And you had submitted what the supercharged units look like?
I don't believe we have submitted that, no.
there were elevations provided last month
Okay.
that did identify what they look like, yes.
And remind me, were these lit or they weren't lit?
I believe they are lit red, is what the previous representative had stated, just the Tesla red on the logo.
Okay. I think we need to look at that from a lighting perspective. Thank you. But not like an image of it. Can we get images of what those look like and lighting levels? And when they're lit, the superchargers are what we're talking about, right? Are what lit, or all
That's
of
my understanding, yes.
So when you have these supercharger units, is that lighting and the Tesla brand on both sides of that supercharger, or just one side?
It's on one side.
On one side, okay. And I think we need to look at the sign regulations, whether those are considered signs. And how, how big they are, whether
Trying to figure out.
essentially our code allows it, frankly.
Right, so the code allows 2 square feet per foot of building width of the facade. So I guess we would also need clarification from Ben whether or not that would apply to the Tesla chargers,
Yeah.
because there's no building facade for the chargers.
So I have some images here. Are any of them have the appearance of what these would be?
The one you were just hovering over.
This
would-
one?
Yes.
So you're proposing 16 of,
Yes.
Right, so I thought these were the superchargers. That would be 4?
Those are the charging posts. The superchargers are actually the equipment that the posts plug in, not plug into, but connect to bring power to them.
Okay, so this is the supercharger?
That is the charging post. If you look up supercharger,
Yeah, I was looking here, Tesla superchargers. But you're saying those aren't them, those are the posts?
those are the charging posts.
Okay, so somewhere, maybe we'll get a picture of a supercharger. I'm just,
are these strictly for Tesla vehicles?
Any EV can use them as long as they have a North American charging standard plug, which is the standard across all electric vehicles.
so this is showing up as a supercharger. But again, that's the post you're saying?
You point out to what's going to,
Yes. These posts are going to be there.
Like this?
four different,
The one to the far right.
This one, the white
Yes.
one?
that what's lighting up everything that's white and red?
They won't illuminate white, but the Tesla branding itself will glow red.
And you're not seeing any of that equipment that we're talking about, the 4? You seeing anything or no?
Is the charger within the post?
Is it this?
There is a plug-in connection that will plug into the vehicle and will allow the vehicle to charge.
Is this the other, what you're talking about?
Yes,
Okay. So it's just a standard utility green box?
correct.
And what is the height?
The elevation is depicted on the plans. I believe it is 8 feet.
8 feet? Can they be made smaller, or they have to be this size?
They do have to be that size.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to get a sense of what these look like. Pat?
Are you familiar with the ones over at Monroe, not Monroe Commons, but
The Woodbury Commons?
yeah, Woodbury.
Yes.
So what's the difference?
Those are an older model. The newer models look more similar to the images that were just on the screen.
It's basically the same thing. You have a post and you have the wires in it. Testing. And you have the charger in the post.
Correct.
Okay.
So we have architectural review. Okay.
Have color renderings or as to what they're,
Do these come in different shapes?
Currently, they do not. You'll see some older models at older charging stations, but right now we are not proposing any different shapes.
Okay.
Are these units going to be, they're not going to be solar powered, right?
They're not solar powered.
I'm sorry, Justin, do you have something to say? You were saying something?
Yeah, sorry, I don't, I was trying to share some photos of the charge posts. I don't know if you're able to open them up or see them in the Zoom chat, but I shared a couple photos of what the superchargers look like. We're not getting this.
You can't, oh, hold on, Justin. Well, he's definitely lit up, but, and I can't go farther with the, Justin, are you able to speak louder?
Can you hear me any better now?
Can you? Very low. You know what? Let me try the other mic. Where's the thing? It's on that side. All right. Could you speak again, Justin?
hear me any better now?
Okay, thank you. We just need to make sure this is captured in the recording.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, I don't know if you're able to see what I posted in the chat a couple images of what the superchargers look like, what they look like, the charge posts look like at night with the lit logo, and then also what the pre-assembled supercharger unit looks like as well. I don't know if you're able to open those and share that, but I attached a couple images of those.
One I was able to just open, the other one, I don't know why it won't just open. But we have the image of them, in the evening. Now, do you put security out by these?
There will be no security at these, for these.
Okay. And no other lighting around the,
No additional lighting is being proposed aside from what Target already has on site.
sufficient for your needs?
Correct.
Okay. This is another panel box. Is this, you had shown us earlier, you said it would look like the green one, but this is, looks like it's a different kind of box. Do we know which one?
It depends on the local utility, what color those boxes will be. I cannot speak to what color they will be.
But the size, this is considerably larger than the last one shown.
Justin, can you see the screen?
No, unfortunately, I can't see anything right now.
So we're sharing the image that you sent that has the daylight, and it's showing the Tesla superchargers, and then there's a big white box there. Do you see that?
They have one in
You're
there.
talking about in between the posts?
Yes. Is
Yeah,
that,
that is the supercharger cabinet. That is what feeds the AC and DC power out to each,
so
or
that,
the DC power to the charge post.
so that's going to be the size?
Yeah, that is the size of the post. That is, if you were looking at our plans, you can see the 4 charge posts, and then there's like a number where it says 1, 2, 3, 4. That is over top of what is the supercharger cabinet itself.
So do you dictate the size, or does Orange and Rockland?
Size across the board, that is standard for all Tesla sites.
So that Tesla dictates it?
Yes, yeah, it's a Tesla standard.
Okay. All right. So I think with all this, we want to kind of look at, in the end, you're in a very visible location because you put it along the drive. And so, you know, again, my question was, is this one-sided or double-sided? What are you going to see from the other side? You are putting landscaping in, and Karen will take a look at that. But again, will we effectively be shielding this from the drive and have enough landscaping while at the same time allowing you to install those?
Just for reference, that box is 8 foot, almost 3 inches tall.
Yeah, we just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's fine. Jeff had, I think you had looked it up, right? Okay. Other comments? I had a comment and I can't remember it.
Again, how many those?
16.
So, one of the images you showed had handicap accessibility spaces. Given the distance of this from the store, are you proposing them? You're not proposing them?
We are proposing accessible spaces and charging posts.
Okay, because I see this one hatched out area. So will you have like 2 spaces, or is that not an accessible space, or is this not showing them?
That is an accessible space. Justin, are we proposing, excuse me, are we
It's just
proposing 1 or
the
2
one
stalls?
stall would be an accessible stall. Is the stall 1D that has that one singular stall will have signage. We have an image of the signage on our C5 sheet of what that looks like. It's an accessible signage and stating that that charging space should be used last.
Okay, so this sign, the blue sign.
Yes, correct.
So the other comment would be, and maybe you touched upon it, Sean, but making sure the actual space has the proper logo, et cetera, for being handicapped accessible, as well as the sizes. And
Sizes are definitely correct. I don't recall the signage offhand, but we'll double check that.
okay, the size, just to make sure they
Right.
meet
Yep.
the requirements. Those are my comments at this moment. Any others? So next steps, is there anything, we just need revised plans, and there's the question of the parking.
That's correct.
County and public hearings discretionary.
So with regard to the county, are we ready, or should we get revised plans and then transmit? Get revised plans?
Yeah, and see what Karen has to say,
Okay.
in
Before-
case she has some, significant comments that might change it.
Okay. So I would suggest we just make revisions, and we'll have to look at this some more. Hopefully by the next submission, maybe we could consider forwarding it to Orange County, and then possibly opening a public hearing if we want to hold one. So let me ask, does anybody feel a strong need to have a public hearing? What are people's thoughts on holding one, because it's discretionary?
I don't think we need one.
I agree.
I concur.
Okay. I think the one piece of information I would like is, to what extent are these spaces used by general customers, when you think about how many we're removing? So in other words, are those always 100% occupied, during Saturdays and peak periods, or not?
I thought we had looked.
Did we?
If I recall correctly, I think the board was comfortable that it was far enough removed from the front entrance that, I don't want to speak for the board, but
Yeah.
far enough away that it didn't seem to be used, if
I've
at
never
all.
seen them occupied.
So I go on Saturdays in the evening, and I do see them occupied, but that could be the one day that they're occupied. So perhaps we could just get, or maybe we can all take a look when we're next there to see in general whether they are or they aren't, and kind of think about that. And my recollection is, in terms of Tesla, this was really the only area. You didn't envision putting them in a different area if we thought that this wasn't an optimal spot, because it is utilized. Was that, if I recall correctly, that's what you had said?
This area of the parking lot is considered the most underutilized, which is why we selected this location to put the chargers there with Target's input.
Okay. All right. I think we need a little bit of evidence of that to support that claim, just to follow up. Thank you. So I think at this point, no further action until we get revised plans, and then we can start to move forward
Okay,
with other agencies, et cetera, okay?
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bonnie, you can turn that wireless off now.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is target expansion. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Casey Lieberman. I'm a civil engineer with Kimley Horn, and I am here as Target's owner representative.
So what are we looking at this point?
So right now, this is our first time before you for the drive-up expansion. I want to say it was on the agenda, it says expansion, but I just want to specify drive-up expansion, not building expansion or anything like that. But the existing drive-up spaces, let me see how many there are. There's 4 existing drive-up spaces. They are being sandblasted and restriped back to standard parking spaces. And on the other side of the drive aisle, we are now proposing 12 drive-up parking spaces there, redoing them to match the new drive-up standard and move them to a better location with all safety standards put in place for the employees. So total, there'll be a loss of 5 parking spaces.
Send me the,
Where are they now?
They are, I want to say like 2 aisles over from the main entrance. When the plans come up, there's an aerial, so you'll be able to see where the existing ones are. No, that's a remodel.
that's the remodel.
Yeah. I have small printed ones, if that helps.
Can't see what,
Okay. These are small, so.
hang on, let me, maybe this is it. So design package elevate, it's not. Okay. So even though this is drive up, this is for.
That's wall signage, yeah.
Okay.
That's what we got approved a few months ago.
All right, so you sent it to me.
Yeah.
You're sending, okay. Okay.
While they're getting pulled up, though, when we were talking about the excess parking, just something to note is there aren't any storage containers there anymore. So those 15 standard parking spaces are back. Just a note.
But are they there seasonally?
No, I got those approved back in, I want to say, like 2021. And they were meant to be permanent, but they're gone now.
That must be recent, because I
Yeah.
thought
I was looking at satellite
very
images
satellite,
today.
very recent.
Yeah, it
Okay.
happened over the last like 2 months.
So I think we'd have to get something from Target indicating they're not putting them back, or they're not
Okay.
going to put them there seasonally.
Yeah, I could do that, but just wanted to put that out there. Regardless, we're still good on excess parking, but thought I would add that.
Oh my gosh, is it 15.4 meg? Large.
Oh, there it is.
If that's the case and those storage containers anymore, that was on, you were given a site plan amendment for that, so if you could modify this site plan application to include that that's no longer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to their plans, but it was just a note today per the storage containers. But yeah, I could definitely get an answer from them on that. Because it was Kimley Horton who got them approved back in 2021. Yes. Yeah, so that's the overall, where you can see where they're located. Yeah, this is proposed right here.
So these are, what's happening here?
So,
have this.
if you go back to the proposed sheet, maybe go 2 more sheets to the improvement plan. Yeah, that right there. So the shaded spaces to the left, those 5 are currently the drive-up spaces. Those are being converted back into standard parking spaces. And what's shown in the 2 rows to the right are where the new proposed drive-up spaces are going. There's great use out of the drive-up program nationwide, so at every store they've been expanding from the 4 or 5 spaces to either 12 or 18, this case being 12, and this time around they add all safety precautions, that being crosswalks, stop signs, stop bars, light poles, etc. Just because these employees are coming out of the main entrance, so we need to make sure.
These are for folks that'll wait, that'll have their purchases brought out to them.
Correct. It's a 2-minute turnover rate. So you order
It's a
on
what?
2-minute turnover rate. So by the time you get there, mark on your phone what space number you're in there, come out, drop off your package at your car, and you're out.
Are there any interior changes being made, or is there a door already there?
No,
Everything's-
so in some stores, you'll see them try to use one of the existing doors away from the main entrance, because with the floor plan, you're able to like use that area by that door. But in this case, I checked, and they're all fire access doors, so they can't be used for anything but that. So there will be no interior changes. Where they're prepping the orders, I can't speak to, but it's
Is that over where the Starbucks is? There's that space on the side. Is that where they're staging these? Across from the Starbucks?
I'm not too sure. I'm not too familiar with
So
the
when you-
interior.
The drive-up orders are kept where the in-store pickup orders are?
I'm not too sure.
I believe
So-
that. I believe that.
Are you
When
asking
you
about?
walk in, when you walk in, to the right is like this area that
Yes.
has materials, but also when you go to the Starbucks, on the back kind of wall by Starbucks, there's a whole bunch of stuff there, and this seems to, that's not by where everything is being, staged. That's, I think, over by where the Starbucks is, because it's to the side of the main,
Yes.
right, entrance?
Yes.
Yes?
I'm familiar with it because my wife is always ordering online. So I have to go pick it up. Space number 3, by the way. So, no, it is. It is in front of the Starbucks
Okay,
window.
so that's probably where they're coming out from that little area there.
Correct. So it's, to her point, it's safer for the employees
Okay,
to bring out the merchandise to the vehicles.
okay, thank you. Sean, why don't you launch into your comments?
Sure. So, again, kind of revolving around the parking study that was previously done, the Tesla application is going to reduce the number of spots from 79 to 76. This application is looking to reduce a net of 5, so a total number of 8 between the two applications will be reduced, bringing the I guess call it the accepted number from 79 to 71. However, as Casey had noted, there's the potential for an additional 15 from where the storage containers may have been removed. So if that's the case, perhaps there would be a net increase in parking. But again, I think it's important to look at that holistically. One other item regarding the parking calculation, the required number of stalls came from, or there was no backup for how that was derived, so that'll have to be provided at one space for 150 square feet of target, the size of the store. So that should be provided to confirm the calculation. I had a couple of technical comments on the pavement restoration and the curb ramp restoration. I don't have to get into detail on those. There is 3 lights proposed for the pickup area to illuminate that area. I had a couple comments on that. Number 1, there's a bunch of hot spots, like 12 to 14 foot candles, which is pretty high. And the lighting plan was provided separately. That sheets should be incorporated into the overall plan set.
Where are these lights proposed?
If you go to the previous page on here, you can see it. We intentionally separate them, but it's no problem combining them if needed. It's on the previous page of here. This shows the foot candles, but on the previous page, it'll show the light pole locations. Yeah. top right is existing, and those darker black ones are the two proposed. No, that top one that your cursor's on is existing. It doesn't look that faded. I noticed the same thing on the way here. But that one up top is existing.
What is, this is kind of a dashed line.
Yeah.
Does that mean that it's going from,
Double head.
it is a double head, or is it going, is
I
it
believe
one
it
and it's
is.
going to two? Okay.
I think it's one going to two, was my understanding.
Have a double headed here.
These are all down faced.
Yes.
What value? They say?
It's not provided. I asked that to be included, so just so you're aware, the board likes 2,700 to 3,000.
I would like to know what the existing Kelvin value is, so that if it's 5,000 and we go to 3,000, is it going to look weird?
Right, fair
But
point.
in general, we don't like super highlighting. Yeah, because you have on your ordering information color temperature, but I don't know if you're
Options, but it's
right.
Okay.
that was it.
Ashley?
Again, for this application as well, the entity disclosure form, Section B, needs to be completed and signed by Target. I think this, similar to the Tesla, whether there's, these poles and beacons constitute signage, since they do, the drive-up poles have that language on them, I think there should be a signage table, probably with the existing signage calculations, which you'd have from your last application, and then proposed, also what's proposed for the Tesla, to look at those two together. I don't think you'd have an issue complying, and make sure that the sign lighting complies with 5776J. And it would be a action under referral to the county.
Thank you. Board members,
No comments.
No questions.
I have a comment. Back to the,
It was the PDF you were on, just a couple pages. Yeah, I think one page before that. Yeah.
let's go back to the overall. Yeah. I understand both for the safety of the employees and for the speed of the service, the benefit of the spaces being there. However, being an experienced Monroe Target shopper, the aisles directly in front of the door have quite a bit of handicap parking. So, and Target does an excellent job of providing handicap parking with walkway and all that, those great features. But it takes a lot of what would be considered prime spaces. And now the application is really to take the next row over and convert the front of that into a larger drive-up area than what's already there. And I suspect that because of the location of the handicap spaces, that there are many Monroe Target customers who consider that prime spaces. It's also bringing the employees into the walkway directly in front of the store where cars are driving back fairly consistently. And Right, so the area closer to, well, can you just jump back to the, yeah, and go down a bit, right? So where this walkway is, that's a lot of handicap spaces. Where this security sign just was, is the row where those parking spaces for the drive-up are going to be. So do we know what percentage of Target's volume is done purely through drive-up? Not pickup in store, but drive-up?
They have those numbers. I don't have those available to me,
Okay.
but I could get them.
I'm assuming that in addition to that, knowing they do pickup, and they probably do, as many retailers do right now, ship from store, and their walk-in traffic, I would wager to say it's fairly less than 25% of the overall volume of the store, and probably less than 25% of the overall traffic at the store. And moving the spaces out of the main drive from in front of the store and off to the side, not around the side, but there's a row and then there's two rows back behind there, closer to where the Tesla application is going to put your employees where there's much less car traffic. And when they're crossing to the side, not that row, the row after that, actually. Yeah.
Are you
See
talking
where the
about
white
the one-
car is? Right, where that white car is. Truthfully, from that white car all the way down to the Tesla spaces are probably the least utilized area of the parking lot based on, I don't know, probably 60, 70 trips to Target a year since you've opened. I'm a pretty experienced Target shopper, and happily so. But I'm also a retail employee in one of my jobs, and I've done curbside. And BJ's, Walmart, they all have, a lot of the big box stores have theirs around the side, off to the side where there's less traffic, vehicular. Like in Walmart's, it would be where the white car is, just to the right of that. No, it would be there. But at our Target, those spaces are very heavily utilized. And I suspect in part because of the handicap parking and the existing drive-up and the other spaces that would be considered prime, take up near the front door. So a lot of people have opted to park around the side there because they find it close to the entrance relatively.
There's also a door.
And it's a side door. So the curbside employees could be coming out that side door, even if they're coming from the area in front of Starbucks, directly out the side into a less trafficked area, putting these spaces that are utilized for a segment of Target's customers away from the front door that they don't need to be in front of, right? It doesn't matter when you're doing pickup, Lou, am I right? What part of the parking lot you park in, as long as they're bringing the stuff to you.
That's correct.
Okay.
But, I mean, if you go to the side of the building,
Yep.
right around the corner, it's probably a better spot if you keep going that way. And
This way or
just,
the other way?
you
but
pointed
that's-
out it before, right there. Literally
That's
right there,
prime
those
par-
that's prime, but that's prime parking.
It's prime parking, but it's also the safest parking if you were going to do.
Right.
For
It's probably-
employees, for the
it's probably
employees.
safest parking.
Yeah.
I just feel there are better options in this parking lot, and knowing what the traffic pattern is there, and having done the job, if it was me, I'd be preferring to go out to the left from the front door than out to the right. So, for Target's consideration, I make those suggestions.
Understood. There is currently a drive-up wall sign being proposed on the building directly across from the drive-up, and at the end of the day, it all comes down to the interior layout of the store, which I can't speak to, the flow of it, and employee safety. That's their number one priority. So we try to avoid the main entrance, and anytime we have a door we could utilize that's not the main door, we do it. So I can't speak to the reasoning, but I know there's a reason why it's in that exact spot and why they chose it there.
It's not this door, because that's CVS's door.
No,
This is like an older image. 'cause
No, it's
like-
on the other side of that entrance space, all the way to the end. There's a side door that leads out to that side parking. No.
This is the
Keep going.
Starbucks.
going.
Yeah, that's the Starbucks. Keep going.
Right here?
No, the other opposite end of that.
Oh, wait, we're talking,
After that brick wall, yeah?
Yep.
Right there, make the left.
Turn around. Yeah, keep turning.
No, you went into the parking lot.
sorry, my other left.
You got to get to the end of that, the other end of that wall now. And
Okay,
Right
you
behind.
see where that brick
Right in
wall
here?
is? You're right in there.
Yes, there's an entrance there.
Okay.
There's an entrance. That brings people
There we
out
go.
to that spot.
Giving Ashley secret.
sorry, don't look.
But even though that is obviously a well-utilized by the patrons for parking, it is clearly the safest spot to put for the employees, would be the safest spot for pickup because there'd be no traffic.
That's
They're
across
walking
no-
out, could be right on the sidewalk.
Do any of the other Targets have it right there along the side of the, like, I'm thinking of the Newburgh one.
I've done all of them.
You've done all of them?
All of them in the Northeast.
So no one has them here?
Middletown one, they do. Traffic.
The Middletown? The one at the Galleria? Okay. I'll have to do some research on it. So ultimately, in your comment, really speaks to, you're not sure that's the best location from a safety perspective.
Best from a safety perspective. I don't think it's the best from an overall customer convenience. I think it's providing extreme convenience to what is probably a fairly small segment of your customer base. When I was doing pickup in my store, you knew the customer names as they came up on the order because they came up all the time. But the vast majority of people, still at this point, are walking in through the front door. And we're of what we call, I'm at BJ's, what we call ship from club, which is merchandise going out, UPS out the back door to go to people's homes, of people walking into the store to pick up their orders, or people doing what we call curbside in this case. Anecdotally, because I worked the front door for the last 3 years, I see all the curbside orders that go out. It's a fairly small percentage of our business compared to the number of people that I see walk in to pick up their orders alone. And I know that we're doing more volume shipping from club than both of those.
Understood. I'm just, your reasoning to begin with had to do with those being like the hot spots being used, but now if they're moved to the side, and you mentioned those are even more used than the ones where we have them,
Again, personally, if it was me, it wouldn't be those spots right on the side of the store because they are very actively used based on what I tend to park in the row directly across from the row that goes down the side. And so I see what's going on down there. And yes, those are used quite a bit. But the row behind that, there's where the Tesla's going to be, and then there's the row before that. That row before that also is very underutilized.
So I guess if you look at the circulation pattern here, right? If people are coming from Bailey, and we probably all do different things because of where we like to park, I come in this way, and I park back in here because I don't want to search for a parking space. I just want to park. And then I'll walk forward. If you're coming in this way, you're coming right in this aisle, and you're probably looking first for a space there, right?
That's the way I go.
That's your way. So I think,
But because there's no direct entrance into either of those last two rows, that you basically have to go in and
You
then
mean in
turn.
here?
Right. That you have to come in where you come in and where I come in and turn to the right. People tend not to do that. They want to park closer to the store if they're going in and out of the store, whether it's for pickup or whether it's to shop traditionally, as I like to do.
so I guess the question is, again, and this may be something Sean could take a look at, what's the heaviest drive aisle? Because on the one hand, so they have to cross this area, right? And this is one of probably the highest volume areas because that's the entrance and the exit. Or this here, maybe not this one. Probably this one gets the most traffic.
And I think one of the highest traffic ones, based on what I've observed,
Otherwise, it's
is
diffuse over
where we're
here.
proposing the drive-up parking right now.
Over here, going this way?
And I may be wrong about that.
don't
Listen,
agree.
my knowledge is anecdotal.
So Jeff, you're saying that this lane in here is very high traffic? Because they're proposing it somewhere over here,
Because people
right?
can't park generally right near the store, directly in front of the door, they park that next aisle over.
So perhaps we could get more information on that?
Did they
But,
just take screenshots of their security cameras?
Yeah, I mean, I have tons of aerial satellite images I can provide too, and there's never cars in this parking lot, more
Yeah,
than
no,
like
I'm not-
25% full.
I'm actually personally not speaking about the use of the
Yeah,
parking space.
just which spaces.
I'm speaking to what is the primary drive aisle? So what is the least utilized? What is the safest for your employees? From that perspective, not from the parking utilization, but at least for me, the safest way to get to, for your employees to get to those spaces.
I think that's easy. As Jeff suggested, you don't have to cross any lane of traffic to do it on the side of the building. You're doing it straight.
Well, that's
know,
for sure, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's definitely the safest because you don't have to cross traffic.
Right.
Another concern to bring up with moving it is, as we speak, there's a drive-up wall sign being installed in the building that was approved a few months ago. That's intended to be directly across from the drive-up parking spaces. So it's being installed right now where these spaces are proposed.
You don't have to do any curb modifications if you move it.
It's true. I don't think they're worried about curb modifications.
You bring up costs. I'm saying
Yeah,
you don't have,
yeah,
that
yeah.
reduces cost.
I'm going to modify my Tesla comment earlier because my brain was thinking this was the aisle here, which is where I park. And there is a lot of parking here. I forgot about that this is quite over, so I would agree with you. There's a lot of parking going on over there. So where are we? I think we need some revisions. You definitely have some hot spots that need to get under five-foot candles at least. And I had a question on, I think, so when you talk about, you have those different stanchions. What's the difference in how many of each one? So let me see if I can find it. It's on this. You have these two.
Yeah.
What's the difference in how many of each?
Yeah. So on the left, the stanchion, post and panel signs, there's one at the head of each drive-up space that identifies what space number it is. And then on the right is the beacon. And
Are there going to be two of these, or
yeah.
for each space, or there's?
No. So
Okay.
there's two beacon totals. One's an existing one that's being salvaged and moved over, and the other one's proposed. So since the rows are split on both sides of the aisle, there's one on each side. And you could see that on the previous page. It's kind of a little circle. It's call out 3 and call out 4. So 3 is top left, 4 is bottom right.
The 3 are the ones that are pre-existing?
That is existing, but just being relocated.
Okay, and then you have 2s and 5s. No, those are wheel stops, I think.
2s are the stanchion post and panel signs.
Oh, they are,
That just
okay.
says typical for anything that's that shape.
So that's the
there.
stanchion?
Mhm.
And then which is the
With the
solar?
space numbering.
Yeah.
So yeah, this beacon, which is solar powered, internally illuminated, is call out 3 and call out 4, 3 being existing, 4 being proposed. And then anywhere that is call outs 2, that represents the stanchion signs, which is at the head of every stall. And the stanchion sign is the one that says the space number.
So the 4 is the only one that's being added or relocated?
4 is new.
Is there only one?
There's 2 total. One of them is being relocated and is existing. The other one's new.
I see this one here, the 4, which is the new.
Yes.
Top left.
Oh, so that it's being relocated to there?
Yeah, from the
Oh. from a different location.
Yeah, like
Got it.
it's being relocated like 5 feet.
Okay. Quick question, Sean. This angled looks odd to me from our typical road, and this does too. So I don't know what to do about it, but that's not I don't usually see that kind of crosswalk.
I'm not aware of anything that prohibits we'll call it a diagonal, but I can look at that.
Okay.
But it's also not real world. Where the curb cut down is, so where the bollards are in the front of the store, the big round bollards, all of that pavement meets the curb. There's not a, employees are going to come out that door, they come out the exit door with a cart, they're going to go to the most direct route to those cars, especially because they have a time to meet. They're on a standard. And they're going to use paths of convenience, not what's laid out as a crosswalk to be able to say, we've provided this safe option for our employees. Let's give them the right option. Let's make that crosswalk where the employees are most likely to walk to, whether it's those spaces or any spaces.
So
You're saying
Unless Target's management is such that there's somebody in the parking lot supervising this, and basically insisting that employees go that way, the employee is going to go the fastest way possible in and out of the store. And that's not it.
So again, just, and I'm maybe being obtuse, but is there a door here?
No.
Okay, so they're coming out of the main entrance, and you're putting this curb cut in because you're saying the path that the employee's going to go is from here over and that way.
Yeah, because that's where the stop control is. So cars will be stopping for that crosswalk. That's the purpose of why we have the stop control there.
But Jeff, you're saying that the
Right,
sidewalk is flush.
but what I'm saying is, the employees most likely will cut across
Right this way.
before the
Like
stop
this way.
sign.
Or come down this way and over.
The crosswalks and the sidewalks are great. More stores should provide that in their drive up. I just don't think it's in the right area for human behavior.
You know, I like, when I'm parking in my little spot, to come right up this concrete aisle, for whatever reason. It's just, it feels safer because it's a big wide path, right? And I often see people going up there. And the other benefit is, I don't know if this is a table, if it's just concrete, or if it's actually a little table over there. I don't remember. And is it a little table? Do you remember? Do you know?
Mm-mm.
And so, why am I not doing this? But, well, you know how it goes up a little bit, like almost like a traffic
Oh, I see.
calming device?
Okay, yeah.
But I don't think so,
Like
but I
a
can't
raised
quite tell.
walkway to create more or less a speed bump for
Right.
vehicle traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I guess they could come this way and over because that's a very visual cue for people walking out of the store and toward the parking spaces, if it stays on that side. Oops. I think all of this really relies on people getting out there and taking a look at how people behave, because that's the best indication of what's really happening there. And so I would encourage all of us as planning board members to hang out a little. Don't look sketchy, but hang out a little and see what the movements of people getting to and from the store, to see, our reaction to this, whether it's the pavement markings or the path, or whether it just should be somewhere else, to take a look at it and think about that.
Suggesting that as planning board members, it's our duty to go to Target, because I'm willing to accept that challenge.
You're willing? So what would we like to do this evening? Or do we just want to get some more answers?
I think that's my suggestion, yeah. Especially if they're going to consider moving it.
You can classify it as type 2.
No.
All right.
I will make a motion that we declare this application a type 2 action under seeker. I may have a second.
Second. Ooh.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Lou Rivera,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bob Gorstack.
Aye.
Thank you.
When was the solar put on the roof? Do you know when the solar was? Was it a long time ago or recent?
I'm not sure. I could ask, get
Yeah.
back to you.
I don't remember it being on aerials before, but kudos to them for putting them on. So,
I'll relay the message. Before I head out, about the technical comments, I quickly mention, there's like a slight mention of variance. I just want to check in on that. It said,
That's in comment too.
yes. I know it seeming like no, but I just want to double check before.
I mean, that's a board call. That's with regards to the number of parking spots. If the board is not comfortable with decreasing the available parking spots, the applicant can go get a variance, or the board can require that they go get a variance. So I don't know if the board's ready to answer that tonight, but,
Didn't we determine that there's
We're
going to
not
be
sure where they're
net
gonna
more
be yet.
spaces?
I'm sorry.
Didn't we determine that there's going to be net more spaces?
That depends on if Target is willing to commit that they're not going to use the containers anymore.
we have to
Don't
find
think
out
we're
about
sure
the
we're-
containers.
Yeah.
And then I think with all of these, when we're talking about parking, we need a little more information from the applicants that give us some sense of utilization. I would say that it is underutilized, the parking, that's not a question, but I think just for the record, there needs to be something.
That's what the parking study, I put in a FOIL request and we were able to find a memo that proved, which was mentioned earlier, that there is an excess of 79 parking spaces.
Well, I'll tell you that our comprehensive plan noted that there's an excess of parking to the point where it said if applicants or if property owners wanted to come in and maybe put some additional buildings in, that was supported because that would be economic development and ratables, especially when you have so few parking spaces utilized. So I think that's the case. I think we should just have something on the record if you haven't provided it.
So what exactly you're looking to be provided?
I mean, I don't want to do,
She's going to be providing a bunch of aerial photography. Maybe that's
Yeah.
enough for the board.
yeah, I think especially if it's, at least give us the last 5 years, let's say,
Done deal.
okay? And think about doing it if there's some around Christmas, December, just to get a variation, because
Yeah.
we know when the peak season is typically.
'Kay.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is O&R. Are there more? Is everybody here that's left for O&R? Okay, just to make sure. I wish Dylan was here, because I have a question about how do we get comments from O&R? Now that we have O&R here, right? A la BJ's?
Right.
And the gas station?
Right.
Okay. Good evening. If you'd just please introduce yourselves.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Leslie Snyder. I'm a partner in the law firm of Snyder & Snyder. I'm here tonight on behalf of Orange and Rockland Utilities, Inc.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Sismanic. I work for Entrust Solutions Group, and I'm the engineer of record for the Orange and Rockland substation project.
Who's going to do the presentation or introduce?
The two of us essentially will do it. We have parts of our project team here as well. Mike Hominick, who's from O&R, and Scott Olszewski, who are also from O&R, are here
Great.
as well.
Thank you.
So O&R is proposing a public utility substation on.
Our Wizard of Monroe.
How's that?
Thank you, George.
So O&R is seeking a special use permit and site plan approval to construct a public utility substation on their property off of Forest Avenue. The property is approximately 12 acres, and it's in the light industrial district where it's permitted by special permit. O&R is seeking to construct this facility to ensure the reliability of their service to the area and to meet the growing demand for electric service. We've submitted all the materials and have submitted a detailed memorandum in support of the application, but I just want to highlight just a few items for your consideration. One is that this particular public utility facility is being proposed where there already are electric lines on the site, so it's consistent with the existing use of the property. The public utilities substation building will be in a fenced compound in a small portion of the property. It's been designed to buffer the use from adjoining properties because it's screened we provided a detailed landscaping plan, and there also is existing vegetation on the property as well. It'll be unmanned, so it will not generate any traffic impacts. It will not negatively impact any ambient noise levels. We've submitted a noise study to show that there'll be no impact to the ambient noise levels to the area. The facility also includes an access way, which will be readily accessed for fire, police, and other emergency vehicles. There is no ongoing lighting of the facility. There will just be lighting in the event of emergencies, and all that lighting is dark sky compliant, so there'll be no glare onto adjacent properties. It should be noted that O&R also needs a wetland permit for this project because it will be impacting the wetland and the wetland buffers. As you probably are aware, DEC recently promulgated new wetland regulations. So they have submitted a jurisdictional determination, but for the purposes of the application, they assumed that the unmapped wetlands were DEC met wetlands and the town of Monroe wetlands. O&R has proposed a detailed wetland enhancement plan. They will have some permanent impacts to the wetlands of 0.15 acres, but they are proposing enhancements of 0.43 acres, so about a 3-to-1 ratio. They also will be having some wetland buffer impacts, but they're proposing also 3-to-1 ratio of providing wetland and upland enhancement. The impacts to the wetlands are essentially for stormwater facilities. Interesting enough, they refer to them as subsurface gravel wetlands because they function like wetlands. They will control the runoff, and they will deal with the water flow, just like a wetland will. So the impacts of the wetlands are for uses which are consistent with the wetland use. We're here tonight to answer, we know it's our initial meeting, we're here tonight to answer any questions that you have, and hopefully you can declare lead agency so we can move the process along.
John, do you want to start with comments?
Sure. So we had a comment with regards to the cleanup on the bulk table for the lot width calculation. That has to be the average of the front and the rear lot lines. We had a couple notes on the EAF with regards to the wetlands, and that it appears that the wetlands could be under the jurisdiction of DEC because of the census mapping and the urban area.
Census urban
The
areas.
urban area is triggered in this location. So I understand a JD has been submitted. I had a recommendation that perhaps CHA go and understand where the limits are, but I think that should be reserved until DEC either takes jurisdiction or doesn't, so that Dave can get a look at that time. It appears that over an acre of disturbance will be exceeded, and therefore a stormwater pollution prevention plan will have to be prepared. It appears that the applicant's engineer is anticipating that, as there's a number of stormwater detention facilities on the site, but that formal SWIP document will have to be submitted. There is actually, I think there's two retaining walls, one on the downhill side towards the Glenwood schools, and there's one on the uphill side. There should be the grading top and bottom of wall elevations added to those retaining walls, so we can get an understanding of the grading. I had a couple comments on the fire access. So there was a truck turning diagram provided, except that it showed that it kind of went beyond the limits of proposed pavement, as well as asking the applicant to confirm that the dimensions of the T turnaround that's provided meet Appendix D of the New York State Fire Code. There's a T turnaround provided that is acceptable per the state, but there's specific dimensions that have to be met in order to comply. So as Ms. Schneider noted, there was a noise study provided. The site, and I know this because I recently did the CO inspection at the Glenwood 2 school, it's dominated by 17, as you can imagine. So there was some levels provided in the report. I understand that the ambient is somewhere between 60 and 70 decibels during the day, and the substation within 25 feet is going to generate 60 to 65, and then within 50 feet, before you even get off site, it's going to be about 55 to 60, so below the ambient. I think that was the main highlights of my memo.
Thank you, Sean. Ashley, comments?
This would be an unlisted action under seeker. I think the other involved agencies would be potentially DEC, potentially Army Corps. A couple of minor changes to the EAF if the board was going to declare your intent tonight and circulate after receipt of a revised EAF. Question D1E, subpart number 1 wasn't answered. That's the anticipated period of construction. And then if you can also submit the EAF using the DEC mapper with that mapper printout page. I know for one of the question about architectural areas, that was triggered on the mapper, but they had checked off no. I know they have the SHPO letter, but just to make sure the answers are consistent with that mapper printout page. So the board does have architectural review, so details could be provided consistent with that. It does also likely require a local wetlands permit. Section 56.7A 4, 5, and 6 of the code require a narrative just answering certain questions, providing certain information about the wetlands permit. So they did provide a tree survey, a tree plan. It indicates 195 trees are proposed to be removed and 62 proposed to be replanted. So as it currently stands, that would require a tree fee for the remaining 132 trees unless the laws change between now and then. I know that the town boards had been reviewing a draft law. And just a couple of things that I noted from the EAF that the board might want a little more information on for purposes of their seeker review. So the EAF did indicate that bulk storage of transformer oil is going to be on the site, and then also herbicides that would be used. So the board will look, I'm sure, at the potential impact on wetlands and other environmental impacts as a result of those. It does require referral to the county as well, and a public hearing as it's a special use permit.
Comments?
Size of the lot that this is on, I don't have that information in front of me.
12 acres.
12, and what's the footprint of the substation?
The substation will be in a fenced-in compound, and that'll be about .87 acres, the fenced-in compound of the 12 acres.
Where in this map?
This blue area.
I realize that,
Oh,
but
sorry.
it's .87, it's less than 1 acre out of 12.
Right.
Is it going to be closer to forest? You know, looking at access for fire and so on?
Yeah, we will.
By the building, the new
About
building,
where
right?
Glenwood 2 is, yeah, so.
So this is Glenwood 2?
Yeah, right.
So it's going to be around here.
So it's the furthest away from access.
Probably maybe a little bit closer.
You guys probably. Let me know where in this lot here that you're anticipating building this.
Yeah, Kevin, do you want to, and we have the site plan with us, sheet 3, but. Yeah,
Is that the only access is going to be off Forest Ave?
correct.
To add on to that, specifically why there? Is it because you wanted it the farthest from forest, or is that just a good place in terms of the utilities it would connect into?
Have to be on the,
Oh, let me give you this.
This is fine, this is fine. My name's Mike Hominick, I'm a civil engineer for Orange and Rockland. Yeah, so our siting principles, we typically will try to position the substation so it's the furthest from everybody's view. This location as well, we have underground circuits that are going to be leaving the substation that head in both directions, so we want to make sure we can access county route back going towards like the New York State Trooper back. Sorry. We want to make sure we can access back towards the New York State Trooper Barracks and then also towards Forest in both directions. So we'll have underground circuits leaving in both directions from the site.
And kind of within your existing right-of-way?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you this so that you don't have to.
Pass that around.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for that.
Anything else? Oh,
No. I mean, I understand the rationalization of where they're putting it, keeping it away from there. But I'm always worried about having emergency services getting to and from.
So when we talk about away from things, that's Bald Hill, that property. So there is going to be a large residential townhouses?
Glenwood?
Bald Hill?
Oh, Bald Hill.
Isn't that Bald Hill over there?
It has
where the houses are going?
townhouses, yes.
But isn't it on the other side of Bald Hill?
It
The
is.
Bald Hill is going to be,
I guess I don't understand the topography between the two.
because this is owned by Bald Hill.
Yep.
And this is Bald Hill. I think it's going all the way back. So just so you know, there's going to be a big residential development there. They started clearing for it. When we talk about, I don't know what the proximity of the homes are to your substation, so I think you need to look at the
We're in
plans.
a light industrial district, so is the Bald Hill in the light?
It was a stipulation of settlement.
It's usually
If
you
that
don't have
explains
housing,
everything.
Right.
I don't know that it was, I don't know if it was LI at the time or what happened, but that's a large project. They've started the construction. You've been out there,
I mean,
right?
Right now, we have, high-tension lines.
Yes.
and there's a clearing, so it's sort of like, they're obviously, those homes are being built.
Speak into the mic,
next
please.
to sorry. I apologize. Right now, there's existing transmission lines that are there, high-tension, lines. So
Right.
they're essentially, this is consistent with that use. It doesn't change the use. And the compound will be screened, so they already.
I think it's more, when we talked about the noise, that there's going to be another sensitive receptor there.
Right, but we won't be increasing the ambient noise off of our site. We actually did studies even
We'll have-
to
yeah.
that, we can show to that direction.
We'll have to take a look at that
as
as
well.
part of
as well.
seeker, for sure. Go ahead. Anything?
Should get those plans.
Yeah, so my first question is, this is the first time O&R has been for us in quite some times. Can you just tell us the purpose of a substation for O&R? What happens at the substation, and what does that provide O&R? What is the
And where's the
function?
need being generated from? To piggyback onto your comments.
Yeah, sure. So hopefully you guys can hear me better now. Currently, the area is fed from the Harriman substation, which is over near Walmart, and also from the Monroe substation near the Orange and Rockland Lakes. So those are the two substations mainly feeding Monroe right now. This proposes another substation right in between. Basically, that'll cut everybody's circuits considerably shorter through the area.
What does that mean when you say at the circuit?
Sure. So first, I guess I'll talk about a substation. So the transmission line is sort of like the highway, right? The substation is the off-ramp from the highway for the power. Power comes in and it gets transformed down to a lower voltage and sent out on the distribution circuits. Those distribution circuits, excuse me, those distribution circuits basically carry power at around 13,000 volts through the community. Right now, we're proposing 15 circuits out of the new substation. Sorry, I'm like fighting back a cough here. My apologies. So those circuits that are currently coming out of Monroe and Harriman are, running very long circuits. So by providing the additional circuits here, it'll cut those circuits that tie together through the area, adding additional capacity and improve reliability.
Okay, so when you say cut the circuit length, you're talking, it's actually adding capacity.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's correct, yeah.
So,
And redundancy?
And redundancy, that's correct, yeah.
Exactly right.
and so is this for all the development happening in the area?
So it's because Tesla's here, before us. It's because of the significant development in the area. Obviously, there's a considerable amount of growth, in the area as KJ expands. So it'll be feeding a lot of this new development. We get planning criteria that's put together. We get planning studies that show the number of units that are coming on. Stuff like things that are happening across on Nininger, as well as the proposed development right next door, adding a significant number of units into the area. There's also the state mandates for electric heating, and obviously the EVs that are coming in that are really changing the way things are happening. And then as we try to get solar into the system, this is all a route to get solar to the homes.
This could take the feed from solar farms, if I understand what you just said correctly. Take the feed from the solar farms and then distribute out?
Yeah, that's correct. That's part of what the new systems are doing. There's a lot of solar, particularly in like the West Town, out towards Warwick area, where it's feeding into the system and then redistributes through the area.
And those farms can make it this far?
Some of them are much larger, generation scale, where they're feeding into the transmission facilities. Those are a little bit further out. There's also other solar facilities that are just feeding the distribution circuits that they're on, taking up the capacity in that area.
My other question is, how close is this to the school that's under construction?
The one that's on the corner?
So there's the existing school, and they're kind of well into the building of the second school. If memory serves from when we were talking about that, there's a proposal for yet a third school next to that, possibly, if once
Talking
that,
about the shul?
no,
Not enough room.
At Glenford?
Yeah, you're talking in the back there where there's like a mikveh back there, is that what you're referring to?
mikveh, there's a mikveh, and then there's the two schools, the one that's existing, between your site and the highway, basically. That closest school, I'm wondering how far that is. I mean, I've read,
About 120 to the building.
okay, yeah, I would have guessed 120, 150. So it's relatively close, but, I looked at the emissions numbers and all that. I had a chance to look over that today, and everything seems well below
Right. we
what
need to-
the state caps out at.
Right, we provided that study purposely
Yeah.
because people do ask that question.
Just to answer the Bald Hill question, so the lot that you noted is next door that is owned by Bald Hill is not involved in a construction, right?
Okay, so it's all on their other parcel.
It's on the parcel that's more or less to the, we'll call it the rear, because this enters from Forest Ave, so the farthest from Forest Ave.
So, any other comments?
No, not at this time.
So, I'd like the actual plans, because I only got this digital copy.
Oh, we
So I don't think I got full-scale plans.
submitted those.
Packet I
Yeah.
gave.
I don't think I did. You
We have
did or you
another-
didn't?
I didn't find them, but there was a lot of documentation in the last packet, so I have to double check that.
Could we
They were
just,
They're pretty.
yeah,
Yeah.
We submitted the copies, but we have actually an extra set if
I
if
would
you
love
need.
to get an extra set.
No problem.
Thank you. In the plans themselves, I'd like to see more in terms of, at least on the first page, adjoiners and where the schools are, because most of the maps don't show the buildings and where they are relative to your substation. You're going to be coming through and driving through, you said access via Forest Street and/or, what's the other road?
105?
Avenue.
Forest is on the west, what's the other one?
105.
So you said that you would be going from either direction, if I recall, right? Did you say you were going to come off of 105 too, or
That's
just
the-
Forest
That's the
Ave?
underground
Forest.
Yeah,
transmission
so
lines.
our underground distribution will be
Just
going both
Forest,
routes,
just
but the driveway access will be from Forest.
Okay, so
Right.
no driveway access through the other property?
No.
Correct.
No.
Which is a total aside, I'd love to talk about that property, because there's all kinds of things that happen on it. It grows, and I've never seen a site plan for it. So, as a planning board, I'd like to get some opinions on whether we should see a site plan at some point. We talked about wetlands. I know this is very preliminary. Have a plan in terms of where other substations are being constructed? Because I think you just did one in Blooming Grove, or you're doing one in Blooming Grove. Is there a general plan that shows us where these substations are, like, over the next 10 years being built?
Yeah, so our planning group has, maps of the entire county and where they sit.
Right, I think some of it may be privileged because of issues of concern, so if you, not other types of issues of concern, like terrorism and other issues, so I think if you want to know what, like, the other ones in the immediate area that are existing, we're happy to provide that to the planning board, but I don't think we want to, we can provide a kind of generic map, because we are concerned about
Yeah, I would just want to know.
safety for the
In
community.
Monroe, if there are going to be any others or any other locations or other improvements
Right, there's
proposed,
no other proposed improvements in Monroe.
and none planned in the next 10 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Sure.
So, and I'm sorry, this lot, O&R already owns.
Owns, correct.
The transmission lines aren't going through an easement, they
They own it
own
in
the
fee.
line. So there's an existing access road, I assume,
Right, like a gravel.
like a gravel,
Right,
and is that what's going to be reused?
correct.
Is
And
it gonna be
it's
improved, or is it gonna
right,
just stay
Slightly more
gravel?
improved, it's sort of like a gravel way, not a real access way. Now there'll be a real access way that's shown on the plans. If you look on the existing conditions of the plans, you can see where the,
Are those gated? at the entrances, or?
No, there'll be no gates. The compound where the equipment is will be fenced.
Okay. I'm just
for
curious how
security.
that works.
Right. No, we
Yeah,
don't want-
Leslie, we will have a gate at the end of the driveway.
You will?
Yep.
Say that again.
There will be a gate at the end of the driveway to restrict access.
And from the road Forest Ave to the facility is tarmacked or just gravelled?
Currently, it's a gravel road. It will be paved in the future.
will be
So
paved.
it'll be a full fire access type road.
Put a lighting plan?
Yes. We showed it was, dark sky compliant, that there was going to be no glare onto any adjacent properties.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the sheet index,
Yeah.
photometrics. That's the one that shows
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah, and as Leslie mentioned before, for our lighting plan, the lights are really only on when everybody else's lights are off. Otherwise, the stations are dark and they're unmanned.
How often are they manned or that people go to do maintenance there?
Yeah, following construction, unless there's an issue at the stations are visited once a month for a monthly inspection.
What's the size of this station compared to the one on ONR Road?
So the one on ONR Road is a slightly different vintage. It's got a fairly different layout, but this one's a little bit larger. There'll be an extra transformer here in comparison.
Oh, a little bit larger.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I live over by there. I'm familiar with that substation,
Sure.
what it looks like, and
So-
how obtrusive it is and it isn't. And I mean, okay. Just for comparison's sake.
Sure.
Thanks.
So in terms of the photometrics, I see like a 2 and a 0.5 at the property line. At least in this digital version, I don't actually see the whole photometric layout with the ticks, like a 10-foot grid. Did you provide that or no? I don't know if it's just the fact that this was scanned, that maybe it's there, but I don't see it. But kind of like
It
what we
is-
were looking at for
Yeah, it is there.
Target.
I think it might have dropped off from the scan, but yeah, they are on a 10-foot grid.
Yeah, it looks like it's not coming through on the scan.
But it's shown, right, on your table?
Yeah, yep.
Maybe you can show you. You can give a darker copy if that's
Okay,
necessary.
but it has the
he-
ticks
he
and it
has
has
done,
the
but
zeros and all the values, not
Right,
just
you have all the values?
0.5 and 2. Okay,
I'll have to talk to the photometric
Okay.
engineer.
thank you.
There's a detailed chart, but they can make the plan a little clearer.
Yeah, I appreciate when it's like the Target one that we looked at, where it has all the ticks and you see all the values. That's it for me for now. Pat?
So, the entrance off 105, you've been building that for a while, or is that something else?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Talk about. So coming in from 105, that's a private property. I think you have an easement over it, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So all that activity and now the lights there is that owner, a private owner.
Right, that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with it.
That's not you.
That's great. You're talking about the bus garage area and.
Whatever it is,
On the side of it, right.
which we're going to find out
Yes,
soon.
that is not our development there.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Right, we're not coming from that direction.
I was just wondering, because that's been going on for a year, I think.
Well, a while back, I had asked individuals why we haven't seen a site plan, because the amount of disturbance grows. There are different vehicles being stored there. It's been clear-cut in places, and for some reason, it happens and we never see anything. And so, after this agenda item, I would like to recommend that as a planning board, we write a letter to the building inspector asking what is going on and why we haven't seen a site plan.
You don't know, Sean?
Not.
Must be a well-kept secret then. That's all I have. They asked the same questions I was going to ask.
Lou?
Yeah, I have two questions. First, you're going to remove 195 trees, is that correct? But you're only replacing it with, you're only replacing those trees, only 62 trees are going to be planted, correct?
Well, we have 480 trees. We are removing 195, you're correct. We're adding 63 trees, so we will have to pay towards tree replacement for 132 trees. But there are over 480 trees on the property.
Second question is the safety of this new substation. What are the new safety features that it has as opposed to other ones you've placed in the past? It seems like it's going to be a residential area, right? I mean, close nearby, so I want to make sure that it's safe. So can you talk to that?
Fencing, other security devices.
Right. We have fencing, we have, I'm sorry. Oh, sure. Yes, we have fencing. It'll be secured. As Mike mentioned, there's actually a gate so that no one can approach it. And then it's heavily wooded and landscaped. So it won't be really that readily visible from the street. So unless someone really knows, it's not going to really know to go into it. So it will be secured. And it is in a light industrial district.
Yeah, I can, just on the security system, our security system operates in full darkness using state-of-the-art technology from infrared cameras to FLIR-type cameras and heat-sensitive stuff. The lights aren't required to be on for the security system to be working. It's monitored 24/7. It's got, motion-activated sensors that, contact our control center and dispatch our security and then local police in those events. As far as the substation goes, it's all modern equipment, modern relay protection and controls, fully breaker system, everything's contained. For the controls are all contained, inside a metal-clad structure. Keeps people out. It's a locked facility, as well as keeping the animals and rodents from getting into the facilities. For the rest of the station, it's all up to current National Electric Safety Code standards, and then ONR goes above and beyond those standards with the way that we space and lay out our equipment.
Thank you.
So in terms of this evening, type of action, or?
As unlisted, or your intent to be lead agency, authorize a lead agency circulation upon receipt of the revised EAF.
So I'll make a motion that we declare our intent to be lead agency for this proposed action, subject to receiving an updated EAF. May I have a second? Oh,
Second.
and, I'm sorry, and declaring it an unlisted action.
Second.
Rivera,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bob Garstek.
Aye.
I think that's it for this evening, but while you're here, since we have a captive audience, so we had an application in front of us that was at the BJ's Club, and there was a gas station proposed, and it was represented to us that the applicant had great difficulties trying to get a hold of ONR and trying to get into an agreement where they could do what they want to do. So my question is, what is the process? Should this happen again, who do we contact? One of our planning board members who had done work, construction work, indicated there's a portal, some kind of portal where you put your project in and then someone contacts you. But really, I just, since you're here, wanted to get a sense of, for our benefit and for future projects, what's the process?
Yeah, so the portal you're talking about is the new business portal. That's for new construction to go in and basically put in an application to work with O&R to get service to their facility. That's usually if you have a new residence, a new business, that sort of thing. That does go through the portal. There's an entire department at O&R that handles just new business work. Very busy these days, especially in this area, but so that goes through that avenue. For the BJ's case in point, I was actually involved in that, in the review process of that. That goes through our real estate department as they're proposing a change to our, basically our agreement for the property that's through there, right? O&R owns the right-of-way through the property. We have particular requirements from a safety standard for the National Electric Safety Code. We also have access requirements that we have to be able to get to all of our facilities in the event that they come down. You know, the gas station actually provided some particular concerns, you know, gas facilities and electric, you know, obviously not really best of friends. So we actually had a very long process with them, a lot of back and forth with them and their engineers. Surprised to hear that they felt that they couldn't find us because we met with them on numerous occasions, but you know, unfortunately, you know, it's one of many projects that, you know, we're handling.
Sure.
So,
So is that resolved, or is that still being negotiated?
we had reached an agreement as to the requirements for what they could do and what they were going to do in the area. They were proposing some stormwater facilities. We were having to negotiate additional easements so that we could traverse. Typically, our easements are to travel longitudinally through the right-of-way.
Right.
We don't take for granted that we can drive all of their access roads and parking lots and everything like that. So there was agreements being put in place to cover that because we couldn't drive longitudinally anymore. That gets into the legal department and the real estate department for us in Con Ed.
So that hasn't happened yet?
I don't know if it was executed, but I can certainly find out for you.
Okay, because the applicant had asked us to make some changes to our resolutions in terms of timing and what could be done prior to getting this all resolved with O&R. And we obviously haven't seen construction begin, and we don't have a gas station. So, you know, it's useful that you're here so we get some sense of the status, but also, so in that instance, it didn't involve a new, it's not a new business from the perspective that they were going to be demanding energy.
Correct.
They
yeah.
just were doing something within the right-of-way, but they still go through the business portal then, or no?
They do not go through the portal. They go directly through our real estate department as they're asking for particular rights or for us to waive rights that we have on the property.
Is that real estate development with O&R or real estate development with Con Ed?
It's a shared service, so.
It is?
Yeah, we have O&R dedicated people, but it's
Okay.
a shared service.
Okay, and so they contact you at the Monroe headquarters, or?
Yeah, so they go through, it's, trying to think of, I think they're down in Blue Hill Plaza, down in Pearl River.
Oh, down in Pearl River?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that just helps us,
Yeah,
again.
and then it comes through the engineering teams, whether it's the transmission side or the gas side or the distribution side, and we have to go through and make sure that, you know, we have all the maps, and we met with them on site on a few occasions to talk about their development. And I know they had the wells on one side and us on the other. And,
right.
You know, a lot of development right next to one of our poles that we have to be able to get bucket trucks up to. So.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
I think that's it. Oh, one other question, I'm sorry. So you're a public utility, you're not taxed, correct? Are you taxed?
Actually,
Property tax?
Our equipment is, I believe, assessed.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we would be paying property taxes
On the substation?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So I think that's all we can do this evening? Anybody else?
Yeah, just one last question. So the only utility that has been before us, well, since we've been on, is cell phone towers. And I'm wondering if there's anything special about O and R as a utility that we have to know as far as process, that we're required to handle this application in a certain way. I know there were certain issues with telecom, and I didn't know if there was with,
There is no
Electric.
shot clock, which probably is what you recall from the
it's one of the things I recall,
from
certainly.
the towers, that you have a certain amount of time from when a complete application is submitted to take action, so that doesn't apply in this case.
But they are given deference in zoning, so I think that's where you're going. So there's a longstanding case, Con Edison versus Hoffman, where the New York State highest courts have ruled that public utilities are entitled to deference because it's a need for the community. It's already deemed to be a public need, and therefore they should be given deference. And as long as the intrusion is minimal, they are to be treated with deference under your zoning code to try to oblige them, because it's similar to like a school and other types of religious uses.
So with a so let's say, so you're still subject to our review,
Yes, we are.
but when it comes to, let's say do you still have to go for variances if there's a variance, et
We
cetera?
would have to go for variances, but let's say we needed a use variance if we weren't in a zone that permitted it. We don't have to follow the standards for a use variance.
Got it, okay.
So that's that public utility standard for use variances that the cell tower,
Similar
Before
to
you had to
the
get
cell
it
tower is
similar.
built on the public, the electric utilities. That was sort of like the successor. That's
Right.
basically what the case law was developed off of.
My understanding is that basically as an industry, that cellular telephone said, we should be treated the way that O&R and other companies who provide that type of service.
In today's day, no one could live without a cell
Right,
phone.
so-
Whenever I can't find mine, I'm like, like every other person going crazy. It's
I don't
really-
disagree.
It's really become a public necessity, just like electric is, and this is, I think a good thing for the community because it's showing that your infrastructure is growing, which essentially helps development of your community by investing in infrastructure. So we'll be back, we'll address Sean's comments at the next meeting. We'll have revised plans to you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, has anybody had an opportunity to look at minutes? Because I have not, or I have them. I have them, right?
Everybody should have.
Everybody should have them? Did you, no? Okay. Jeff, all right. So I will get you all the markups and add it to the next agenda. And then we'll have, obviously, the minutes for February too. Because I'm going to work backwards. As soon as you get February, I'll do February. I'm going to go January and go back. And then you'll have yours and I'll go through them. It's just too many to do in a shot. Anything else we should be aware of? Oh, wait. Yes, so, and I think the reason I even think about these stuff, what happens is because suddenly there'll be lights, and these lights are incredibly excessive. And that's what's happened on that property. And I just don't understand why we haven't seen it. I think there's been an argument made that there was approval at some point and that use is allowed, but that still doesn't get around the expansion and extension, and we don't even know what they do there. So if the planning board agrees, from the planning board, would like to get a letter to Ben and ask him about that property and indicate, we've seen changes over the years, we see different activities going on, and we'd like to know what's the story, what are the building permit C of Os that they have, why haven't we seen a site plan?
Now, you're talking about Larkin and 105,
I'm talking about
right
this,
there?
this in
Yes.
here,
Right.
that we have no idea what goes on.
That is, if I'm talking about we're talking about the same thing. When you're coming up Larkin Drive, you hit 105, you look to the left, there's a lot of activity coming in and out. I was gonna have my truck inspected in that location. That was recommended for me to go have to do the New York DOT, New York State
Like-
inspection.
Truck 18-wheeler or truck, car truck?
I have a box truck. It's a
box truck.
20-foot box truck, but I was recommended, and I called and I spoke to a gentleman to have my vehicle inspected there, but I didn't get it inspected there. I got it inspected somewhere else. But they do that, at least I know they do inspections there. And from what I understand also, I believe they sell vehicles there, 2 trucks.
I understood that maybe it was our dealership, but obviously they have tractor-trailer trailers stored here.
Box trucks,
Box
vans,
trucks,
everything.
vans. There's no stormwater.
So we're not familiar with that at all?
There's no control over if there's oil or grease or anything. And that's, I think, in the vicinity of the headwaters of the Rampo River. So, because the Rampo comes somewhere in there. Because I think the Ramapo goes by Larkin, where the wells are for KJ, unless I'm on the wrong side of the, yeah. So there's just big use that goes on and expands, and I think we've asked this before, but yet we never see it, and I think it's time.
Looks like a junkyard.
Does look like a junkyard. So I think they should come in, they're in the town of Monroe, and we should get a site plan for all this. And have in my opinion. So, is everybody amenable There's a stream going right through there.
It's a stream.
So, all
Yes,
right.
I'm all for it.
So let the record reflect that we've asked
A
Ashley.
motion to authorize the planning,
You want a motion? Okay.
draft a letter to the building inspector regarding the property and its SBL 1324, I believe.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I'm just trying to get everything written.
That's
I had
okay. We
nothing
all said
typed
aye.
up.
I was,
Thank you.
anything else we need to discuss? Nope. Nope. Meeting to adjourn? Or adjourn the meeting, please? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Oh my God, it's only Tuesday.